Well, they're really good examples. They're asking for instructions, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you're driving around town, you're somewhere
I'm
new,
lost.
you don't know where you are, you ask someone for some directions, and they say, right, you need to turn
Go
right
down
at
this.
Baker Street, at the roundabout, you go left, go over the traffic lights, and it's your next street on the right, and you're nodding along that, yeah. And then you set off and you're like,
But
go
no,
where?
not everybody. But
Chaos with Becky and Nash. We'll meet you there, Becky and Nash. Hands in the air, it's on the floor. Still making it fair.
So we are today on our 7th podcast that's to do with executive functioning, and we're going to talk about working memory.
which I'd forgot we were doing. No jokes. That was just a working memory joke.
It was a really bad working
It's not
memory
bad,
joke.
yeah. We describe what working memory is like because everyone's got that day-to-day working memory. Again, it's part of your whole like executive function. We've all got it.
Yeah.
But how would we describe? Well, let's talk about what it is then.
Well, I just saw a sticky note, didn't I? I didn't see a sticky note. I saw an analogy that referred to your working memory as like your brain sticky note. So it's that where that piece of information is on there on that mental
Forefront of
sticky
your
note,
mind. Yeah.
there for as long enough time to be able to use it. But unfortunately, for some of us, that sticky note gets plopped on and it falls straight back off again.
Yeah. Or you pile them up.
Yeah.
Like on top of the other, I've got so many things, and like then it's like when it, it's one of those things that I think like this. I like the sticky note thing because if anyone's had like a bit of information or a to-do thing, and then at some point in the evening you're like, oh, damn it, oh beep, I've left that or I've forgotten that, and that is your working memory. It's kind of it's there. It's it's a load of sticky notes.
Well, they're really good examples. They're asking for instructions, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you're driving around town, you're somewhere
I'm
new,
lost.
you don't know where you are, you ask someone for some directions, and they say, right, you need to turn
Go
right
down
at
this.
Baker Street, at the roundabout, you go left, go over the traffic lights, and it's your next street on the right, and you're nodding along that, yeah. And then you set off and you're like,
But
go
no, not
where?
everybody. But I don't think everyone would nod along. This is where like masking really becomes, because if working memory is poor, I would do the whole like eye contact. Oh yeah, I know where it is. I'd even agree. Like I could visually see that place, or I know that street, because I would be more bothered about looking like I'm taking the information in than actually awareness of what my working memory is doing.
But we've established, haven't we, in our other podcast that where eye contact is not an indication of good
But we're
listening.
masking like, are you listening?
Like, oh yeah, thanks for helping me. Thanks for giving me that advice and information. Not taking a word in of what you've just said.
Yeah.
So we need working memory to help us get through the day in, following instructions, following steps, being able to complete tasks that, that need that
falls a lot into planning,
steps.
prioritising, doesn't it?
I think one of the things I've noticed as I've got older, and probably also like around certain times of the month, hormones, when hormones are changing, and also I think probably links like after I had the kids. So we talk about like baby brain, and like that brain fog gets worse. And I'm hearing now I'm at a certain age, and I'm hearing lots of women talking about brain fog associated with like menopause and things like that. And I think this is one of the reasons why there's so many women that are either being diagnosed following pregnancy, following birth of their children, or during that perimenopause phase. And it's because the impact of hormones on your executive functions is really quite significant. So that decline in estrogen, that change in your hormones really affects your executive functions, and probably the one that stands out then at that point is your working memory. You're walking into a room and you're forgetting what you've walked in for.
Mixing your words up,
like oh, what's that person's
putting different words
name?
into different
like,
things, and
I had a really embarrassing really embarrassing time when we had 3 new people join our team. Well, we had 4 new people join our team, but 3 of them were female, 1 of them was male. And I was on a video call, a Teams call with somebody else, and they'd said to me, "Oh, you've got some new people joining your team, haven't you?" And I said, "Oh yeah, we've got." And I listed 2 of them, and the 3rd one was sat in the room with me, and I couldn't remember the 3rd one's name. and I just went into full on panic mode. And then I had they brought it up. I can't remember if it was on the same day or another time, and they brought it up, and they was like, "Oh no, I'm not very memorable," and I was devastated. I was like, that really wasn't it at all. It was. I struggle at the best of times to remember names. Names are not something I absorb very well.
I remember the person,
but because there was 3 names to remember, obviously a 4th, but the guy's name was much easier to remember. Because there was 3 names to remember, and it was at a time where I wasn't medicated. I wasn't really understanding my ADHD very well, and I was devastated that that person then felt that they weren't memorable and that they weren't important, because they really were. It really wasn't about them. It was a me thing. The whole "it's not you, it's me." It really was me.
Working memory for me causes kind of quite a lot of frustration because of those things, like the forgetfulness, the not taking information, even things like you know, I'll kind of in my head think about I need to do that, and then it's that whole like walk into a room, or you walk upstairs and I'm like, damn it, I forgot that. You know, I've left that downstairs, or you know, and like even today, like I said to you, and I was like, oh, I might make a cup of tea, and Becky was like, yeah, I'll have one, and I literally said it and then didn't do anything about it. And honestly, like 4 hours later, like when I probably, you know, we talk about that self-monitoring last time, I then thought, oh God, I'm thirsty, I haven't drank anything, I'll make a cup of tea. But because it'd gone to like the back of my mind, it's still there. It's almost like the plate spinning, you know, like it's still there. It's still almost like a niggle. And then I just thought, oh my gosh, I didn't make Becky a cup of tea. And you'd gone to another meeting, hadn't you? So then I go like following her to look like, it was like, you've just been 4 hours later. And I was like, no, I just remembered, you know, like it's that
still
stuff.
very grateful.
Your working memory can be a source of a lot of kind of frustration, really, because it can make you look a bit like, you've not got your stuff
you're
together.
A bit ditzy, and you're a bit scatty, and a bit, you know, all those labels that we get given about, because you've not, like you say, you've not got your shit together. But really, it is that mental sticky note has just fallen off. And you know, it might be hanging on by a thread, and
it's still there, isn't it?
There, but it's not quite here where it needs to be. But then I also wonder, is it that it's fallen off and it's not quite there, or is it that there's just too many sticky notes?
Don't you think that's the part of the hyperactivity?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Know, like
everything wants attention now.
When we talk about what people think about ADHD and hyperactivity, they think it's really physical. You know, it's often that, but actually hyperactivity in your brain. Now, if anyone, you know, I was that kid out the window who was daydreaming. You know, in regards to working memory, I could be getting information. You know, in sat in a classroom, but my mind was anywhere else, or somewhere else, or thinking about a social interaction, or thinking about a friend, or thinking about what I was going home to have for tea. And it's kind of like your working memory becomes like talk about the whole like executive dysfunction. It becomes a bit of dysfunctional, not because it's not there, not because you've not got the sticky note and that you can take in information, because your mind's so busy, it's like it gets put somewhere else, you know. So I do take, because this is that whole thing, the cup of tea thing came back to me like literally like 4 hours later. I was like, oh, didn't do a tea. And so it's not that it went anywhere, like it's not a forgetful thing, it's not a stupid thing. It's like I'm taking information and I'm just filing it somewhere else in that moment, and it will never be gone. Like it will never be gone.
And I think that is probably where it again like links that planning and prioritizing, because that cup of tea and that report or that email or that eat that sandwich or have that conversation about this, they're all like vying for that same attention because of that hyperactivity and that inability to regulate where your attention goes. So it's like,
got too much attention.
Which one of those things do I give my attention to first? And if one of them slightly falls off, then that's it, it's gone, it's forgotten about.
When I got the train the other week, absolute classic example, because my planning and prioritizing was to get the train. Like that was the bit, because I can miss trains and I can, you know, I think time is everywhere I can get in half an hour. I can. I don't take into consideration, like in regards to planning priority, I don't always take into time about travel, traffic, all
Even
of that
getting
stuff.
to the car,
all
locking the door,
all of that.
getting
Make
your
sure I've got all
bag.
my stuff. Yeah. So
I don't take any of that
all
into
of
account.
that in regards to that day when I was getting the train, the planning and prioritizing went, and I was early for that train. I got there, but what I didn't get was the snacks. And again, this is where it folds over. Some of that is like working memory, because I'll have known full well what I needed to survive that day. But in regards to planning and prioritizing, my priority, I was planning and prioritizing, it was just to get to the train.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't anything else. And this is where that we start to, now we're on week 7, really see the interlinking of all the other things. And this is why I think there's not so much really good understanding of executive functioning and how it weaves. We always want boxes, don't we? We always want categories, but actually executive function exists all together, at different times. And this is where it's really difficult, like Becky says, around things like menopause, hormone changes, stages of development. If we were talking about teenagers right now, if we were talking younger children, if we're talking about a working child, a child's working memory, we'd almost give that's quite understandable that I've given them. If we were talking about a child's working memory, we'd probably give time and space for giving them information and them not taking it in because they were distracted, or because they can't remember it, and because it was, there's a level of expectation that they're a child and they're still developing their executive functioning.
Do you think we always have that understanding?
No. No. And again, this is where having an understanding of executive functioning, it's not just about neurodiversity. We are developing it all the time, but it also changes. So like talks of hormones, talks of stages of development, they have heavy influences of what your executive functioning can look like. But in regards to things like working memory, I think if it's not developed, as well, like these are the things that can change, that we can improve, but it's more likely, like working memory for me has massively changed, and probably I would say that's probably some of the reason that I ended up then going for diagnosis, really, because I started to see some executive dysfunction. I have the tool bag, believe you me. We will have a podcast where I'm sure we'll talk about it. All the things that I now look back on and think I was working so much harder. I always had to go the long way around, or there were certain things that I needed to do to achieve something, or I didn't achieve something because of that. But I think now, working memory for me, the mixing of words, the forgetfulness, that for me is a very big source of frustration sometimes, because that's the bit, as a parent, it's debilitating. It makes me feel like I'm not a fully functioning adult.
So much shame.
The shame, like forget, like it's almost
appointments for me. I'm horrendous with appointments. And that is something that, I could have checked my calendar in the morning and know I've got an appointment at 3:00. And there's that mental sticky note, appointment 3:00 today, and I forget it.
Yeah.
Because I've checked it this morning. So in order to manage that, I have reminders like 24 hours before, 12 hours before, 6 hours before, like the constant throughout the day. And I even with all those reminders, because I didn't have a reminder an hour before, I still missed it.
Yeah.
Because that mental note just sticking up, it just doesn't stay.
Mine's things like if I don't do it in that moment. So like if I, get a bill, or if I get an action to do from an email or as a form to fill out, if I don't get it in that moment, like it just gets then put to that bottom of the pile. And again, that it's also then, this is where it links to that planning and prioritizing. I now, know in my head, I do best when I get information, and if there's an action, do it straight away. If I don't, this is where I look like, well, it feels like you're incompetent. It feels like you just forget and you're not bothered. And that isn't the case. It is just because it's on a sticky note and it's fallen off.
And then there's the ADHD tax that goes alongside it, isn't there? Like I recently a bill that needed to be paid on a certain date, and if I didn't pay it, there was going to be interest that had to be paid on it. And I knew it was there. Like, it kept cropping up in my head. like you say, because it's always there, just like kind of like dangling around.
Yeah.
And it kept cropping up in my head, but at the
And
wrong
almost a bit panicked,
times.
don't you? Go, oh, I can't do it now.
Like I want
Yeah.
ever at that time where it was a convenient time to do it. And then literally, like, it had to be paid. I think it was like the 5th of June or something like that. And like 1 o'clock in the morning on like the next day, I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's like an extra 200 quid that I had to then pay out because it was like for my daughter's iPad. Like, and
Yeah.
that's the ADHD tax that we talk about, like the
Yeah.
costs that come with your brain dysfunctioning in
Yeah.
this way. No one chooses to do that. You know, and I've seen quite a few things recently about it being quite fashionable to have ADHD and fashionable to be disabled and things like that. Who wants to have an extra £200 bill?
A lot of people are saying, like, does it even exist, and all of that cost stuff. Now I've seen that as well, isn't it? As in, like, it's now we're moving into a space, like, now that we know more, people are like, does it even exist? And it's like, I've just literally spent to now make some sense of why my brain works. And believe you me, and we're going to talk about strengths in this, like, how can we strengthen up our working memory? Because, like I say, both me and Becky will have had tools before diagnosis, and massively tools, not even tools now as well.
Life hacks.
And also self-care. Like, I don't punish myself so much for being that person that doesn't always, you know, remember stuff, or
I think that's a big part of it, though, is that self-care, but also self-kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
So years ago, me being late for a bill, that ain't new. That isn't a one-off thing. You know, those people sat there going, oh, we've all forgotten to pay a bill and I had to pay the interest on it. That isn't a one-off for me. That is something I've done, you know, many, many times. But before, I would have absolutely beaten myself up about that. Like, how could you be so stupid? You know, you could have spent that money on other things. You know, what a waste of money. And I would have absolutely gone to town on myself. And do you know what? This time I just went, no amount of stress and worrying about it is going to bring that money back. It's just going to make myself feel worse.
This is it. Imagine if I see a little bit of working memory, especially with having ADHD, is in, like, we talk about the Post-its. I feel like, you know, and I used to use Post-its all the time to kind of help with working memory. And I would have a lot of Post-its that I then wouldn't do anything with or lose. But it feels like, imagine if you go, you know, every interaction, whether that's a social interaction, whether that's a task, whether that's an email, often after that, there's some level of follow-up, like, nice to meet you for a coffee, let's do it again, oh yeah, you message me when you're free. And imagine if you kind of go through life all the time collecting these little to-dos. And I think that's where working memory is, like, for ADHD, it doesn't go, we're not necessarily forgetful, it's more that it just goes somewhere else and then it comes up. Because I don't often feel like I forget a lot of things. It's often there, it's just buried deep.
But that's your long-term memory, though, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah. So we've both got really good long-term memory. So, like, I store, like, facts and figures and things, don't I? Like, really well. Like, research. Like, I can quote research and pull that up really easily. But that's your, like, your long-term memory.
So your working
memories that I need to move that cup out of here, and remembering to then move the cup out of here.
Yeah.
Well, your long-term memories, like reading a research paper, taking in the information. Obviously, everybody won't be a geek like me and reading research papers. Apologies.
But they'll remember stuff, won't they?
But there'll be things like remembering the details from that film, from that conversation, you know, what something looked like, things that get passed through to our long-term memory. It's like in the film Inside Out, isn't it? It's the orbs that, you know, that they capture those memories, that information, and they pass them down and they go through into the bank.
Yeah. I love that all.
Yeah, I love that
That's
film.
a good film.
So it's the difference between that and, like, I need to remember to move that cup off the side.
Yeah.
I need to remember to
take the stuff off the stairs.
I need to do things now. It's about doing things in the now rather than remembering stuff for long term.
So what are some of the things that you think help have better working memory?
Alarms is a big one for me. I have to set alarms to just remember generally to do stuff.
Yeah, I do a lot of alarms, or a lot of reminders on my phone.
Yeah.
And I'll do repetitive ones for tasks, but yeah, also add, like, if there's certain things I've got to do at certain times of the day, like using Alexa and things like that now.
Yeah, it's a good one.
You know, I'll be like, Alexa, can you, like, sometimes for me it's things like I've got to be somewhere, and because I don't always allow that planning prioritizing time, or that travel time, in that moment I think I'll go, right, remind me, you know, like, do that then, and that'll help me do the planning prioritizing. So it's like working memory in the moment and saying, you know, can you do me a reminder at 3 p.m, because that'll give me enough time to then get going and thinking about
just
that
thinking
stuff.
even like cooking and stuff, like this morning, Finn's current pack-ups that he wants is like breaded chicken in wraps, and it's the ones that you've got to cook. So like in the morning I'm banging like some straight breaded chicken strips in the air fryer, and this morning I knew that I'd just press play, start, whatever, and it'd set off for 20 minutes, and I remember at the time going, I need to check that in 10 minutes because they're going to burn. And all of a sudden I was like, shit, and I like went hobbling through to the kitchen, and Mike's like, what's the matter? I was like, I forgot the chicken. And it was literally on like 10 minutes. So I'd somehow miraculously
done your own time,
done my own time and remembered it bang on 10 minutes.
God, I
But
think
the
it's so clever when
amount
your
of
brain does that,
times
yeah.
I have forgotten,
You'd like time
I'm
lapse.
cooking.
Yeah,
Like there was a
you were
time
there
like
when you left the grill on as well.
I've left grills
Yeah.
on. I leave pans burning away, like with pasta in, till the water all just disintegrates.
Yeah.
Evaporates. That makes more sense. So alarms for cooking as well I have to have, because even my working memory with cooking food is just horrendous.
I think certain things like routine help me with working memory as well. I feel like, you know, like almost like muscle memory, like things that I've got to kind of do, because I'm a bit like that in the sense of like it's not an alarm but it's already there, but it's probably because it's part of my routine and things like that. But yeah, a lot of, I mean, I aren't going to be the person that says post-its and stuff because it doesn't work, but I think
asking other people can be a big one to prompt you. People that have got good working memory, asking them to prompt you can be really beneficial. I suppose that, you know, is a bit of like body doubling again, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think body doubling probably does help with working memory as well, because it's a little bit of
like, you remembered I needed a cup of tea 4 hours later, so you brought me one.
Yeah, this is it. So it's kind of different things. Like certain things, I think, you know, you've got to, you know, find your own little ways, but there's definitely things in like body doubling and help and asking for help or asking other people to be your reminders. And, you know, I think
checklists can be good.
Yeah.
So if you know, like, this is always helpful if you've got like kids that are struggling with it and you want them to do things like tidying the bedroom. You know, simply saying like tidy your bedroom, that's too big a task. Like, what does that even mean? But if you can create a checklist with like breaking those tasks down to, you know, like put the rubbish in the bin, put your dirty washing in the laundry basket, bring all your pots down, put your books
really
back up on the shelf. Being really specific in a list, because if you just went in and said, right, do that, and that working memory is not going to hold that. So that checklist, and I know again people probably start going, oh, checklist, really? But the thing with a checklist, in order for it to be effective, is it's got to be specific
and time, isn't it? Like, so if you said, you know, you've got today, you know, to do it, you know, or reward based as well, you know, like you can have something at the end of it, whatever. But, and again, there's a lot of other factors out there. This is the thing when we're talking about, you know, this is the tool bags, these are the things you can try. You know, also remember that sometimes, like, I used to spend all the time thinking that I had good working memory because I used to write it down like this. I'm notorious for forgetting where I've put the bloody list, or having a number of lists and overwhelming myself, a number of post-its and losing said post-its. Or
I think if I'm honest, really honest, this is probably the area of executive function I struggle with the most.
So yeah, I would say opposite for me. I'd say it's got worse.
And I remember you saying last week that self-monitoring for you is the one you struggle a lot with.
You're probably better at.
And I'm really good at self-monitoring, which is interesting, I think.
Yeah.
This I struggle with. I can forget stuff in a split second, but my long-term memory is amazing.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that I remember.
I would say mine's changed, and probably with age it's changed.
Yeah.
But I would say it's something that, and if I say, does it make sense if I say that my working memory's been better, but it's been at a cost?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like I've worked hard at working memory, whether that's because it's been important to me, or whether it's been important to my life, or whether it's been important to other people in my life, or maybe there's levels of shame around me not having that good working memory and being a bit forgetful and not kind of doing those things. So I think there's a little bit of that, but it's definitely, one, I'm kinder about it now, but also it's definitely got worse.
I think that's the thing for me, is why I don't feel like it maybe affects me quite so much, is the kindness to myself.
Yeah.
I've got a lot more self-compassion, a lot more acceptance of the, do you know what? I am forgetful. It ain't intentional. I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm not doing it to annoy other people. I do my best. And that's all I can do.
Yeah. I mean, I've been at your house and the stuff like that's happened. I'll be like, Becky, the grill's on. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've genuinely seen, like, kind of why as well. It's also because, you know, busy mum, prioritising everything that they need. You've been given, you know, a task of something to do, you action it, and then you're straight onto something else. So, and this is where, like, again, a lot of people be like, that's just being a parent, we know. And I'm like, I know. This is where, unfortunately, as an adult, if you're undiagnosed, you know, things like sensory processing, things like working memory, things like self-regulation really become more highlighted, because you're so then aware of,
again, it's the accumulation of it all, isn't it?
And it's how it also then impacts a child, impacts you, the guilt, the shame, the blame of it all, but also a bit like, this didn't affect me as much because it was just me and my tool bag and my hopelessness. And it's then when you feel this level of like, oh, can't I just get my shit together?
And I think for anyone who is sat there thinking, we're all like this, we all do these things, you know, everyone blames everything on ADHD these days. You know, these examples that we're giving, they're just examples in a long list of things like this that do impact on my day, of times where I think, why can't I just? And also,
if you're sat here watching this and you're not ADHD, you might be. So that's the other thing as well, isn't it? Like, you know, or you might be ADHD, you might be, you know, in some way neurodivergent.
Executive function dysfunction is, you know, can be affected by different forms of neurodivergence. So we're very much talking at you about it from an ADHD and ADHD perspective, but actually, you know, it is a part of dyslexia. It's a part of, you know, mental health difficulties, anxiety, depression, trauma. Lots of things affect your executive functioning.
And we've thrown in then at different times as well. So like hormones, stages of development.
And it isn't just females' hormones as well.
No, we're talking about testosterone.
Testosterone levels changing for men. You know, so men in their kind of like
reduce
from late 30s onwards.
Of testosterone
starts to reduce. I think there's research now, isn't it, that shows it starts to reduce around that age. So forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm not a testosterone specialist.
And I think a lot of the things, you know, like, this is where I think sometimes we were like, oh, they're using it as an excuse. We're coming at it as a point of understanding. Like, it's not to excuse. I still need good working memory. I still need to be able to self-regulate, because
So just had a great example of my ability to remember stuff. Mum, where's my boots? I put them in a bag in the box outside.
That's so funny.
2 days ago. I remember doing it. See, some random things.
I also love the fact that you are the source and reason of where everything is.
you know what, right?
Your whole family, like your family, are like, Becky, where's this? Where's that? Without looking, you know
Yeah,
where
I just
everything
know where
is.
everything is. And I remember
So funny.
years ago, I'll have been
I
maybe
know
about
Mike's there going, it's because she moves it.
yeah, it will be because she put everything in places. But I walk into rooms and I absorb information without trying. And I remember I did some work experience when I was about 19 for someone that my dad knew. And I remember being in this office and I'd only been in there about, a couple of hours, and there was just all these shelves everywhere with all of this stuff on all over the place. It was such a busy, overwhelming
I love
room.
that.
And I remember the guy going,
I've lost this.
have you seen my watch?
You
And I was like, it's on the third shelf down next to the
100%.
vase. And he was like,
I so resonate with that.
I just know where
But
stuff
this is where, like, so we're talking about, people using ADHD as an excuse. This is about understanding.
Yeah.
But also the next level of that is that it's a frigging superpower. And if we can actually understand it better, then essentially we can use it better. But also we get the best out of the people that are neurodivergent. So if you come in it from a work point perspective, this is about getting the best out of school, your learning, your education, the things that you need. If this is about thinking about what jobs are best for people, if this is about how to improve relationships, in regards to, self-monitoring and self-awareness, and, there's lots and lots of elements that, you can't. I mean, I've spent a lot of the time kind of punishing myself for being this kind of, and now I'm like, nah, it's who I am. I'm going to like it. But there's also room for improvement. There's always things that I think, I could work better on that. And that's what this is about. It's not excuses. No. It's very much about
understanding yourself.
Understand yourself, helping others understand you.
Have kindness for yourself.
And also, that next level is actually, you're a watch finder. Like, literally.
Know all the shit.
But I would be the same. I'd literally, you almost I could also absorb everyone's emotion in that room. Now that comes at a cost. I can literally go if someone's flat, if they're not feeling things today, if they're struggling, I pick up on that. The problem is that sometimes I hold it and I also think I'm responsible for it, and that's the empath
you're not
in
that
me.
important.
But I'm not that important. If we take us back to episode, whatever it was, 3 or 4, where Becky was a bit like, what makes you so important? And it's like, it's the truth. But I literally had a conversation this morning, as in like, my sister was kind of going, I don't know how I feel about this next step in work. And we kind of had a chat about, actually, you not only are you able to pick up on people and be very observant of people, it's what you can do with it. We can have great conversations to go, look, I experience you like this, or did you know that I feel like that, or you make me feel like that, or are things okay? Like, is there anything I can do to make this feel better or be better? So I think there's a lot. Yes, it's about understanding, but it's also about the fact that it's to make life better as well. Like,
and that's why we're doing this, aren't we?
100%.
And we had a comment left on our Facebook page in last week, and I'm not going to lie, that the comment made me cry from a really positive way. And it was somebody, thanking us for doing what we're doing and saying, that what we're sharing is really helping her understand herself.
There's a lot of people out there talking about this stuff. There is, we're not anything different, or special in that respect, but we have got stories to tell, and it is just about wherever you get that information from, that everyone that's taking the time to listen, even if that's for 5 minutes, it might make things better for you, but it also could make an absolute world of difference to have an understanding of neurodiversity in a workplace, in a friendship, in a relationship. I know it's made things totally different for me in regards to friendships. It's made things different for me as a parent, different for me in work. And I've now got a Gary, even a little boyfriend, bless him. But like, in the sense of, I've gone in there, instead of hiding, these parts of me and masking these parts of me. I've gone in going, look, this is how I am, but this is what I need.
Yeah.
And I do that for myself, but also he's been able to do stuff for me that's really, like, I didn't like he's got a great working memory, by the way. He's just planning and prioritizing, really easy for him, and that compliments me, you know, because as long as I'm not in it, sometimes I do say, like, you highlight the things I'm not good at, but a lot of relationships do that to each other, don't they, in the sense of you're good at one thing and I'm not. I'm
going to exercise my working memory and say that I need to go.
You need to go because I've
got my son's presentation night.
Let's do it.
Bye,
Check
everybody. Me out.
That's good, yeah.
Good working memory.
That was good, yeah. Look at the time.